Welcome everyone. Here we have the second panel of Tech and Innovation Summit. I welcome you all here. And so the topic is sustainable consumption, and I'd like to introduce you to the panelists. So the first person we have on the panel is Mr. Krishna Kumar. He's the founder and CEO of CropIn Technology Solutions. Second, we have Soma Sudarshan. He's the Vice President of Process and Product, Xpressbees. And then we have Mr. Rakesh Jain. He's the CEO of Rajdeep Traders. Over to you, Punita ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashmita, for the kind introduction. And thank you, gentlemen, for taking out time and joining us today for the Future of Society panel. So when we talk about the future of society, there are three pillars which stand strong. One is mobility, the other is agriculture, and the third is logistics. And today I'm glad that we'd be able to see all three of them being impacted by tech and being changed how they function. And today to discuss these important pillars of society, I have with me the speakers from these three diverse industries representing their viewpoint. So welcome Krishna, welcome Rakesh, and welcome Mr. Soma Sudarshan.
Thank you, Punita.
So before we get into the discussion mode, I would just like to give a minute to each one of you to please introduce yourself in terms of how you are bringing change in these segments of future of society. Krishna, would you like to start? You're on mute. Please unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Krishna. I'm a founder of CropIn, and CropIn is a deep tech company in agriculture, and we are solving some of the complex challenges which industry is facing through data and AI. And some of the challenges which we are solving is, we are trying to look at every farm as an asset, and we're trying to maximize the revenue, minimize the cost, and manage the risk better for our partners and growers. And if you look at what they're looking for any technology integration in the sector is to improve their predictability, productivity, sustainability of the whole business. Some of the large programs we run on climate resilient agriculture, as you know, every growing degree has the potential to bring down the productivity by 30% of major crops, staple crops of the globe, while we want to double the food production. Math doesn't add up. We work on carbon neutral farming, various programs in livelihood, improving the livelihood of the farmers. Over a period of time, we have shipped this product, which was built in India, to 52 countries. We manage around 388 different crops and 10,000 different varieties of those crops, and around 16 million acres in 52 countries, which is almost equivalent to $22 billion of worth of productions. We make it sustainable through our platform. We work with various partners ranging from banking, insurance, CPG companies, food retailers, chemical and input, farm equipment, and largely we also partner with government and the development agencies to work on livelihood program and food security missions which they have. And we run our AI at the scale of a country. So we process the whole country and we tell them much beyond before the harvest what is going on every pixel inside the country. We are 200 people organization. We have our subsidiary in Europe as well. We have feet on ground in Southeast Asia, Africa, LATAM. And that's how we are in 52 countries and servicing farmers globally. So this is pretty much what we do at CropIn.
Sure, thanks. Thank you, Krishna. Mr. Jain?
Yes, this is Rakesh Jain from Chennai, from representing the Rajdeep Traders, and we are into traditional business. We established since 1976 in auto sector, specialized for two-wheeler spare parts. And then since that trend and time has been changed, we have diversified into commercial segment. And since the technology has been driven with fuel saving, carbon emission, and the most of the concern was in this pandemic was corrosion. Planned ourselves to introduce in the middle of the road, and the services could not be provided. So on the technology we talk about is the corrosion part, which can save a lot of money for the coming end users and also for the manufacturing units, and the way the fossil fuels are replaced by hybrid vehicles, electrical vehicles. So that is the more idea to go into it, and we can be a part of the growth in economic in GDP also. So that is our main vision, and we will look forward, to. We are currently having a team of 6 members, and the product which we are going to launch here is going to be patented by the scientists for next 15 years. So that was the technology we're working on.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Soma Sudarshan.
Hi, this is Soma Sudarshan from Expressbees. I lead the process and the product charter at Expressbees. Logistics as a sector is pegged at $200 to $2 billion and is growing at the rate of 11 to 12% CAGR, right? If you look at the requirements of the customer, they look at convenience at speed at a very reasonable cost. And a technology plays a very critical role in that. Technology, be it from funneling of the orders to processing of the orders within the warehouses, or having the customer informed on the information about the shipments. That's where the technology plays a very critical role. We are a tech-enabled logistics company, and that's where Expressbees fits into the entire scheme of things in getting the shipments delivered across to their customers.
Sure. Thanks. Thank you for giving us a sneak peek into how you're making a difference in different segments.
Yep.
So Krishna, I would like to jumpstart the discussion by coming to you. For CropIn, we have seen how you started the company with a very minuscule investment of $10,000, and now you're giving almost 70x returns to our employees and investors. And we've seen Agritech as a category which was completely unknown 10 years back. So would you like to tell us, how those reforms and transformations have taken place in Agritech?
Sure. So if you look at, we started back in 2010, and I used to work with GE, and the whole motivation comes from there, because we are very proud of our Six Sigma and Lean Six Sigma, which we run in our. GE is known for that, and our job was to make every process and every code we are, writing. It has to have a Lean Six Sigma approach or a Six Sigma approach for our factories which are producing something, right? When I correlated to agriculture, every farm asset is a factory that we are trying to produce, and there were a lot can be done to improve the efficiency from that asset, right? And that really motivated me, because at the same time I was learning about farmers throwing their crops because somebody is not paying them 30 paisa per kg for a tomato, which we never bought in Hyderabad or Bangalore less than 20 rupees. And so there was something was missing. The productivity and the yield, if you compare with the West, are very, very low. And then the soil degradation is happening. We need to double the food production. And there are so many challenges. So we thought this is a very, very large issue which we are going to face in coming days, and nobody is really talking about how to solve it. I mean, government is trying to do, but there has been their own limitations, and we don't see a marriage of technology with something as basic as agriculture. We think agriculture is very simple, but agriculture is a science, a very, very deep science. You put one grain and it gives you 50 or 20 grains in a span of three months. And we said, let's look into the science. Let's pick up some of the problem statement and try to solve it. I didn't know what startup is that point of time, because we didn't have that ecosystem. I didn't know much about the funding ecosystem. I just left the job to say, let's see what we can do. I mean, people leave the job to do MBA. Let's do this MBA real time, and we'll figure it out on the way. So I was the only person. My co-founder didn't leave the job. I left the job and he was doing his MBA. He said, okay, I'll come back after some time, but you try to figure out what you want to do. And I started interfacing with many of the industry leaders to understand what exactly they are facing. And it becomes very evident that they are looking for predictability in their business, because agriculture is very unpredictable. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, they need to be closer to the farm, which is not possible because their managers and the VPs are sitting in Delhi and major cities, and the work is happening at the remote. Now we don't have a 2G, we don't have a internet that point of time in 2010, and nobody had heard about data-driven farming. I think we coined the term data-driven farming, even it was not started in the US and Europe. So I think in India, sitting here, we envision that we should bring data to this whole ecosystem, and that will improve the whole performance of this industry, and that's what we decided to do that time. In the US, it started in 2013. 2012 and 2013. So we take pride in that. Sitting in India, we something envisioned at that scale, and and to our surprise, we are too early. I mean, we were a little early in the game because infrastructure was not there. The 2G was hardly found in the villages. Smartphones were not there, and we are talking about launching an apps when people have not seen apps that point of time, right? Facebook and LinkedIn was very less visible in the rural community or even in the cities as well, if I may say.
Yeah.
And I remember when I launched the first app, and I think one of my customers were PepsiCo that time, and we had to buy the hardware, the smartphone, because it has to be given to the farm managers, and because they didn't carry phones or they had a very very basic phone, and those were smartphones. They didn't want to touch the screen because they felt it will break because they had never seen that phone, and the literacy rate was also not very good when you talk about those farm extension officers in the villages. And some of the major questions people ask, these are all great things, but will my people adopt it? Because what kind of people you're going to interact. They have never seen softwares. Softwares means IBM and Microsoft and Googles of the world. But you are saying that you will take this whole application like a let's say mini version of SAP, which is going to manage an asset at the farm. Do you think my people will be able to use it? And my managers are not gone beyond the Excels, right? So how is all these things going to add up? And I think it really worked. I mean, people were very intuitive. Adoption happened. But the major shift came in 2013 and 14. As I said, we were too early. We picked up 3 or 4 large companies to implement this solution because this was change management in the industry. We didn't want it to fail with the smaller companies. And this shift happened. So we grew very, very slowly. But then we understand the challenges, what exactly they want to solve from the grower point of view, from the sustainability point of view, from the business point of view. And that gave us an opportunity to build something in India. And we correlated to the international market. And we said the problem remains the same, whether the asset is 1 acre or 1,000 hectare, the problem remains the same. There's a pest, there is a loss, there is a n number of issues. Can we transpose it? And that worked, and that resonated internationally as well. And very quickly we grew to 52 countries. I think Agtech as a term came in 2014 or 15, if I remember correctly. It was not a category. Yes. But we are very, very persistent. There was no capital. I reached out to more than 100 investors to raise capital when I was raising my seed. It didn't happen. I had to raise capital initially with my friends on a good note, $10,000, and I said, okay, this is your help, but I'll take it as an investment. I'll give you a shares in the company once I formally create the shares, and I gave them the shares. And today, to my satisfaction, I was able to give them a return of 70x, in our Series C round where the secondary happened, and some of the investors, early investors, also maximized their money here. It's not about maximizing it. It's also about the building the trust with the industry and what you are doing, and what you promise to your people, right? So come on, join CropIn, and we are going to be a successful company, and you are putting your future here. And if you are able to give that return back, you feel satisfied. I think I don't know how much return I'll be able to provide in coming days, but this is a moment I'm cherishing, that at least there's a moment where I promise something and I am able to deliver. And to my mind, I think they have put a lot of effort building this company over a period of time. And yeah, so this was very, very satisfactory. But yeah, industry had its own challenges. We patiently waited for a lot of data where we can really demonstrate the capability of data and the AI, because this industry never had the data. Today, we are sitting on a world largest ag knowledge graph from 52 countries, which is helping us to build AI model with context. I'll give you one beautiful example. Recently in Africa, one client said, we want to map Nigeria. Can you tell me which plot is growing wheat? We want to track that for the government because there's a food security issue. They want to understand how much import and export can happen. This is that. and we mapped 60% of Nigeria. That was the land we have to map, and we process it. And one of the region called Borno, where was the, I mean, historically that was a largest wheat producing district or a state, if you may. Uh, Suddenly we saw the drop was more than 50%. And we said our models are not working. Maybe there is something wrong with that. But then when we dig deep, got to know that all the farmers have fled from that region because of the insurgency of Boko Haram and all. And there's no wheat on the ground. And that's why you see this drop, and the client validated that. And imagine what are the possibilities if government starts using this country level data before the harvest. You have all the parameters to take decision either on the subsidy or a pricing or export import, or the companies who are planning to source, or the bank who are trying to underwrite the risk, right? So it's a very, very powerful information. We are still building it. I'm not saying that our models are 100% accurate, and it can't be, but we are fairly, recent. So we are now going to release the whole India, and this is a massive scale processing we are doing. We are talking about processing 2.3 million square kilometer from area through the AI, and at a pixel of 10 by 10 meter, and then augmenting what is going to happen, what is happening right now, what is going to happen in the future, and what happened in the past in that pixel. And nobody has done that at this scale. I think India is creating a great product, and we have a great talent to do that. And that only happened because we have this, 388 crops, 10,000 varieties from different climatic zones, different countries, which is helping us to build this ag knowledge graph and build this AI model with context. And I am very super confident that, a lot of other people are also going to join this journey in Agtech, and very bright future for agriculture. Yeah.
Great. Quite interesting to hear, with lots of examples you shared. Thank you. Thanks, Krishna. So with this, I would like to come to you, Mr. Jain. Since you represent an interesting industry, mobility. So how do you see tech playing a major role in driving the auto industry for the next level of growth?
Definitely the future of mobility is fueled by three key technology driven: electrification of vehicles, and connected and autonomous of vehicles, and the mobility service. Now, if we take the opportunities in India, we could be a leader in sharing the mobility by 2030, focusing the shift to electrical vehicles to reduce the carbon emission, which is one of the emission, and the corrosion part also. So we are converting all those things into hybrid. The technology is being upgrading, and we talk about the sensors, how this sensors module is introduced, where if your car is
so would you like to share more insights into the future of logistics, how technology is impacting the sector to grow further?
Yeah, sure. Punita, the logistics sector has been transforming itself, last couple of decades. We've seen that. And the companies that embrace technology are the ones who will be successful in the days to come. For two reasons: A, growth; B, to staying relevant in the industry. That being said, technology is looked at as one of the integral part of today's logistics business, because customers expect the visibility on the shipments that they ship through us, or any logistics provider for that matter. In addition to that, there is increased focus on efficacy and cost. So investments in automation and robotics to process and increase the efficiency, and also to reduce the human intervention. So we talk about technologies like autonomous vehicles, and also greener vehicles like the electrical fleets. These are the technologies that some of the logistics companies today are embracing, which will augment their initiatives in bringing in efficiency, reducing cost. In addition to this, big data plays a very important role. As a logistics company, you got to crunch a lot of data to understand the nuances of a certain business aspects. And big data analysis is something that is very, very critical in today's logistics sector. In addition to this, we also see security is a very, very key thing. And with the blockchain technology coming in, I think a lot of logistics companies are embracing it. Leaders like us in Xpressbees, we have all these technologies that support the need of the hour and to be efficient, and then bring in that speed and also bring in that convenience to the customers in the today's competitive landscape.
So would you also like to spare a minute to tell us about how AI, blockchain, and other technologies are being used in the logistics module?
Absolutely. So AI and predictive analytics we basically use for understanding the demand fluctuations. One of the key concerns in the logistics or today is basically the variability in demand, and it is very, very important for a company like us to understand the fluctuations in the demand so that we are better prepared to understand and cater the customer requirements. And post-COVID situations, we've seen that there has been an upswing in the volumes. Mm-hmm. And if you're not prepared for such kind of fluctuations, obviously you would not be able to give that experience the customer is demanding in today's competitive landscape.
Sure, thanks. I'll come back to you again. Ms. Jain, I think you're back and you can hear us.
Yes.
Sure. So you were telling us about the hybrid model in mobility.
Yeah, when the green revolution technology, we talk about the next generation mobility, how this urban mobility can be useful for the next generation. And that is going to be introduced in auto sector, which is called as ADAS technology. ADAS technology is basically the advanced driver assistance technology system, which will help a driver to avoid the collision before the event happen. And that's one of the biggest technologies going to introduce in the coming years. And you can see, and also as Mr. Soma Sudarshan said, the AI intelligence has been introduced there. Cloud computing will play a big role in the vehicles because that will save the data and give the proper way to the auto sector to communicate vehicle to vehicle. That will help us. The machine learning and the predictive technology have a high significant impact on the vehicles in the autonomous industries there. The sensors are also one of the playing the biggest role in the automobile industry. And if you could see the next segment will when the solar panels have been introduced, one of the companies there in Delhi, they are working on that also with an aerodrome system where a four-wheel car will be running also with the fuel as well as with the solar panels. So this is something technology where the cost cutting, because the major components of the auto sector are the pricing is too high because they want to reduce the cost cutting also. And that will help the people who are into the corporate level. They can, for logistics, as Soma said, logistics is a big driven technology. So that will help them also to to save a lot of money on the maintenance cost as well as on the vehicles. The new scrappage policy introduced by the government, that will how they can prevent that also by maintenance in the vehicles also. And basically the improving emission. The emission is a major factor global worldwide. So these kinds of module of what we call of the final port, which is working on the sensors, and even if the vehicle is underwater, it will prevent the corrosion. We call it EICC technology, electromagnetic induction technology, which will help the vehicles to prevent the corrosion on the galvanized metal sheets. Because any vehicle which is manufactured, galvanized metal sheets are without galvanized metal sheets, none of the vehicle is manufactured. So how end user or even the owner of the vehicle, how he can save a lot of money on maintenance for the next 5 years, 10 years on maintaining without any spending so much of money. So that being a big part on the auto sector is going to happen now.
Sure. So before we move on with the audience questions, one feedback I want to know from each one of you is when the pandemic happened, I mean, how prepared was each one of you in terms of handling the kind of digitization we all moved to? And did tech in any way help each one of you? Krishna, would
Uh,
you like to begin?
Yeah, sure. I think to be very honest, we didn't know which side is going to swing. Everybody was skeptical, and one other thing we started working on to conserve cash because we don't know we don't know how long it has to be and what is the impact going to be on industry. But one thing which came out very clearly during pandemic, that a lot of business can happen sitting at your office. You don't have to really fly to US or the markets where you're operating. The second thing became very imperative was food and agriculture, because that was the savior, right? So everybody needed food. And third, how do you monitor those food remotely? Because if the movement of people are not going to happen at that speed which was happening pre-pandemic, then you need a monitoring capability, whether through combination of satellite images, AI models, and still give so that people can have a pulse of the whole supply chain, what is happening at that level. So we saw some uptick. We saw some saving, cut down on the greenhouse gases because you are traveling less
Mm-hmm.
and less burden on your CAC, which is acquisition cost. But I think these are some of the positive which came up. But of course, pandemic has its own uh, negative side of the impact on people, which is still we are seeing, right? First wave, second
Yeah.
wave, and I think we all have learned now to deal with this. But I think I don't know how long we can work so remotely. We have to be back in office. People thought that we can also cut down on offices, but I think people need to meet to innovate, and people are
That's
getting
true.
bored at home, and that we can't take away from our community, right? So yeah, so those are some of the learnings we have learned how to work remotely. But at the same time, I don't think we can keep doing this for a very very long time. uh, Business has an uptake and a good way. But yeah, I'll leave it there.
Sure. Mr. Jain.
yes, being into traditional system of business, so we into a distribution line, so that affects more into the being a playing a biggest role in from the connecting from the manufacturers to the end users.
Yeah.
And this pandemic has really changed the way. When it started, we didn't had an idea of how we going to have a Zoom meeting. That was never been thought about. But this has really paved a different way of working style.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, we are going to filter how the next 5 years we are going to work on it. Second, and on the monetary terms, the cost cutting, how we can do it. Third, how can we pass on the benefits what we saved it to the end user, and how we can support them to back on the track. That's the vast main concern. And we almost with the 300 400 dealers network here in South India, we could balance these things. And since the trend is changing in two-wheeler auto segment,
Mm-hmm.
with electrical vehicles are going to come and hybrid vehicles are going to come, so we have pre-planned 2 years before that we have to diversify ourselves into a different category and introducing a different product which will help with the end user. And especially this pandemic, even if I see my vehicle sitting at home, on the shed, can't go
Mm-hmm.
for the service. So that really driven me to do something innovative. And as you said, the sustainability should be there for the long years to be there,
Yeah.
and the mobility of using to reaching to the end users were most important. And since South has been a biggest happening of corrosion, so we could sense the next future, the climate change is happening all over the globe, and how we can prevent that, how we can save that with the carbon emission also. So that led us, to start moving on the new track. Maybe if you told me, if you told us this pandemic, you are taking something in hand which may burn your fingers. I said, unless you try something new, you will never get an experience. Whether you will learn it or you will experience it.
Yeah.
So we said,
That's true.
okay, go through it, and this has given us an edge to get into it. And being an entrepreneur now, we had been recognized in India's best 5,000 MSME award in last 2020. When people will say pandemic, we want to forward the pandemic. we would see that the pandemic has given a different edge as an entrepreneur to this game.
Great, good to hear on how a traditional industry has adopted to it. So, Soma Sudarshan, coming to you, please share your viewpoint.
Yeah, plenty of learnings for us there. When the two waves of pandemic hit us, we weren't prepared. There were these micro containment zones, which were not allowing us to get the shipments delivered. And there's a huge noise from the customer side because they've placed orders on portals and they're not getting the shipments. And the movement of people and the material was crippled. So we all know that. But from those learnings, what we've done is we've kind of positioned ourselves in a better place. Should anything like that happen in future, touch wood, we don't want that to happen. We would basically position our initiatives on three fronts, right? One is people, safety of people. It may be our internal employees, or it could also be the customers. So we are getting our people vaccinated, and there's a great focus from the org perspective to keep the fleet ready for any contingency that might come henceforth. The second is trying to build a very be tech ready, because we've also known that how a different containment, the entire layout of the containment zones change, and sometimes only the essential goods are allowed. Sometimes the non-essential goods are not allowed. But it is very, very important for us to understand the differentiation of essential and non-essential goods within your company, so that you allow the essential goods to move. And these are real-time decisions that you take. And if you do not have a tech that is that fungible and versatile to accommodate these kind of operational decisions, it's going to be a challenge. So that's a learning for us, which we've made ourselves ready with. And the third part is building the flex in the supply chain. Like I said, post-COVID scenarios, we've seen the upswing and the volumes. We were totally caught unawares last time when we were getting out of the COVID situation. Now we wouldn't want to get ourselves caught in the similar situation again. So there's been a tremendous focus in building the flex in the supply chain so that we are better poised. And I did mention that we are investing heavily in the predictive analytics and the AI part, so that we clearly understand the demand part of it to help us serve the customers better. So that's how these are the learnings that we've used for betterment of services to our customers.
Interesting. So with this, I would like to open the floor for audience questions. We have lots of them coming up. First one is for you, Krishna. Our user is saying, congratulations, Krishna, for building an awesome business. Can you enlighten us on how did you convince the first equity investor to believe that Agritech is a good investment and investing in your venture? Any further suggestions to another fellow entrepreneur to enter a new deep tech area?
Yeah, so I remember, my first seed investor interaction started immediately when I started the company. So in September 2011, I got my seed capital, and that time seed capital was $40,000. It was not like a today's $1 million, right? So on a seed you get $1 million or $2 million or $3 million. And I met these two entrepreneurs. One was Pallav. He used to run a company called Fusion Chat, completely bootstrapped.
Pallav Nadani. Yeah.
Pallav Nadani, right? So, and he looked at the business model. He said, I don't know agriculture, but I know there's so much need to be done for the country and the globally in the agriculture sector. And I want to see what magic you guys can create. And here is my without looking at much into the business model or traction, he said, okay, here is $40,000. Show me what you guys can do. So I think it also about the conviction you have to solve a problem, right? And basically people take a bet on people, right? Ideas are there. They want to see whether you will able to execute, how passionate about you are about to solving this problem, right? And I think that's the judgment point for people who take the who really rise the first risk capital. And you need to be in that zone. And I think he couple of times mentioned that I invested in you guys. I didn't invested in the idea because I don't know how agriculture operated, what are the risks and challenges. But I saw that passion that first of all, we don't see people from this side of the world jumping into agriculture. So you'll always see agriculture people solving the agriculture problem. But
Yeah.
when people from tech are jumping into agriculture, that was the first sign that something good is going to happen. And I wanted to be part of it, right? So yeah, so that's how it happened. Passion and perseverance is something you should always have. Go after the large problem statement and real problem, which can scale. I think investor looks for that kind of a problem statement. They want to invest in next unicorn, and that can only happen if the problem statement is large. And then have a right set of people who are going to work on this problem to solve it. I think these are few ingredients they would like to see when they're looking at writing the check. At my time, when I was trying to raise, agriculture was not even a sector where people were thinking to invest, right? So maybe some tech companies or e-commerce and all those sectors where people were trying to put the money. Agriculture was never heard, politically motivated. Nobody wants to put the capital. Very, very difficult to raise that capital. And we found somebody who can write that check. And you have to, this is one of the problem statement for any entrepreneur. You have to find your way out, right? Find those guys who can really, friend, family, or whoever who can write that initial check, and that shows your passion, right? You are working hard towards even getting that capital to start your show. So I think that's very, very important. Patient, you need to patiently wait for it. You can't start a problem and after 2 years you have to just nothing is happening, or I'm not able to raise capital, and you leave that field, right? I could have done that because I was not able to raise such capitals in first 2 years, and but I was never demotivated because the problem was real, right? So I was seeing the impact on the ground. I had the backing of very, very large enterprise who was looking for these kind of solutions, and that kept us motivated. And I think we did pretty well working in this industry. And so you have to come for a long haul. It's not a 1 or 2 year journey. You'll always have a sine curve, and you have to deal with that. Yeah. So
Sure.
and agriculture is a vast space, lot of opportunity, a lot of capital flowing in right now, and this is a right time for anybody to get into it with finding their niche where they want to operate. And this ecosystem has become very, very large, not only in India, but you'll see it now at the global platform. And I think if you are thinking about getting into ag tech, I think this is the right time.
Sure. So with this, we'll move to one last question as we're already short of time. So Rakesh, this question is for you.
Yeah.
Our user is asking, what do you predict for as the future of rural mobility?
Fuel mobility is there, but now the vehicles are being used. Conversion is more quicker in hybrid vehicles. So we can see by 2025-26, you can see most of the vehicles will be on road with hybrid vehicles. The concern was of the charging stations, and that is going to be been the environment when people want to go with the electrical vehicles. The first question they ask is whether the infrastructure is built up, and the government is taken in auto sector a very big initiative to build up the very big infrastructure when the Make in India program is going on. In that case, the mobility is going to be vast, and maybe from these tier 1 cities going to be big startup with the tier 1 cities going on. It will by 2022-23. I mean, you can see in Kapal just 1.5 year, you can see a vehicle moving to tier 2, tier 3 cities also. So, and this is the right time where, if you want to go for the electrical vehicles, you want to go with the charging facility, it's a right time to go for the investment on such infrastructure, which will give you a long-term benefit. For example, we can say for next 5 years, because we always think for 20 years instead of giving for big dreams. We should focus on the next 5 years, how we can reach with a proper roadmap, what is the government policies are going on, and how the government is changing, what is the government support is having on, and what is the tax benefit policies. This has to be monitored closely to arrive at this. And what I have been connected with so many entrepreneurs with these manufacturing companies, it's going to be a big boom because the fuel fossil is being damaging a lot of the roads, and most of the logistics also have taken into account. They have been paying huge money for the cost on the maintenance costs also. So this will also reduce the maintenance cost. Long driven strategies will be built, and you can definitely invest in this auto sector. And actually, this is the right time where everything is going down and nothing is being imported. Now everything is set up in India. So now the government is giving a much pitch to the auto sector, which is playing a biggest role in the GDP also. So this is the right time to penetrate your money in this segment, and you can get into it.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Jain.